Hello. It's time for Fiddle Club, and I hope there are some people here ready for some tunes. And this is our January Fiddle Club meeting. And um, as usual, I've got a selection of tunes for you from interesting sources. Join me in Musicland. So, what have I got? This month, I'm featuring Malcolm McDonald. Um, He was a contemporary of Neil Gow, a little younger. He's also from Perthshire, like Gow. And he was also from the same area of Perthshire as Gow. He lived in both Dunkeld and Inver, which is exactly where Neil Gow lived in the 1700s. It's also said about Malcolm McDonald that after Neil Gow's brother, who played cello, passed away, Malcolm McDonald played cello with Gow. Um, this is a collection of Malcolm McDonald's tunes that's a modern edition that you can actually get. There's also the original 4 books published in 1788 for the first book. Every 2 years after that, except the last one, published in 1797. So 4 books of tunes from Malcolm McDonald. Many of them were his originals. A few of them were his arrangements of traditional tunes, or in some cases, other people's tunes. Very common in those days for people to publish tunes and not specifically claim them, but not specifically disclaim them, and not necessarily acknowledge whose tunes they were. I've tried to select tunes that are either definitely Malcolm McDonald's or potentially his. I use this as a reference, but I also checked with the original versions. So hopefully we have some nice tunes, many of which you will not have heard of before. Malcolm McDonald's tunes, with a few exceptions, are not so well known. We've had a few in Fiddle Club before. We've had, I believe, 3 or possibly 4 Malcolm McDonald tunes in Fiddle Club over the past 28 years. So we're about to get a whole lot more. Let me play you a tune of his. This is one of his jigs, and many of his tunes are named for people in that same area of Perthshire, or places in that same area of Perthshire where Neil Gow lived. So in many cases, there are tunes about the same people, the same patrons, the same locations as Neil Gow wrote about. And so in many cases, it's very easy to confuse the E minor reel that Malcolm McDonald wrote for Miss Johnston with the E minor reel that Neil Gow wrote for Miss Johnston, even though they're different tunes. So I took a little bit of sorting here to make sure that I was getting the real thing, but I've tried to select specifically Malcolm McDonald's own compositions for today's presentation. So here's a tune of his called Delvin House, and it's a jig, key of A. And let me make sure you can see my fingers. Oh, I should check tuning, and if you haven't checked your own tuning, just a little, there we go. All right. So in the key of A, a jig called Delvin House, and your A and mine. so that's the tune. A little more adjustment, I think, here. All right. So we're in the key of A, and this tune relies on some arpeggio work. So let's just review the A arpeggio, and we're going to do it all the way from low A. This tune is not that challenging in terms of its melody. It does have two things that are a little bit quirky about it. One, extreme range. It's going from low A to high A, 2-octave range. The other thing about it is that it has a little bit of rhythmic interest in the B part, and I'll explain in detail how that works. It's not all that strange, but it's not typical for most Scottish jigs to have that kind of syncopated feel, at least tunes of this era. All right, so arpeggio, key of A. That's a C sharp, E note, an A, C sharp, and E. And let's add that high A. E, C sharp, and A. Touch that up just a bit. Okay, so we've got our arpeggio notes, and we're going to start right off in this tune using those arpeggio notes, the E, C sharp, and A in the higher octave. So let's have a long E note, and then some rhythm there. Okay, so far so good? Any questions on that? Feel free to type into the chat if you have any questions. I can see them. I might not be able to answer them by typing if I'm playing, but I can see your chat questions. So if you have live chat questions, bring them up and I'll be sure to address them. So we started off with this arpeggio figure, a long E note, that's a dotted quarter, and then a triplet. And the triplet is lilted, as is typical for a Scottish jig. Next measure, we're down to the F sharp. F sharp below that A note, with an E at the end of the phrase. Measures put together. All right, so that is 2 measures so far. Continuing on, we've set it right up with that to climb the scale. So that's what comes right after the second bar. Third bar is just climbing up the scale. You were on an E note, and you just climb right up. So I'm giving you a pickup note from the second bar. Now here we are in an A. We're going to continue by arpeggio down. So we're on this A. Next step, E, C sharp, A down to the low A. So we were here, and arpeggio down with that Scottish lilting of the jig. So the third bar put together is a scale going up from F sharp and arpeggio. Okay, how's that? So far, so good. We're working our way to the end of the phrase. So we're bar 4 of the phrase. So far, here's what we had. And it's parallel to the second bar. That fourth bar is B and A. Okay, so here's what we've got. The entire 4-bar phrase so far. Arpeggios, F sharps, scale up, arpeggio down, and B notes. Same thing again. Same thing. Well, how's that going so far? Anybody wants anything clarified or repeated? Say so in the chat. I'll see it eventually. All right. I'm going to continue on, and you're in luck because the second phrase of this tune repeats almost everything. So our first phrase, I'll review it and then continue on. You'll notice it's the same except at the end. Okay, plenty of chances to try this as we go, and I'm not going to speed it up for a while, so let's check it out. Arpeggio, F sharps, scale up, arpeggio down, B, and then you have to jump way back up again. Repeat it all. And the new thing at the end is this. So I had some questions about the low end of the range, and one thing that you need to know, if you're playing the fiddle, you gotta stretch it out. That is a C sharp. All those fingering positions are stretched out. They are not, nothing is close together, no close together. It's all stretched like that. So just reach for that C sharp. All right. The second phrase, which is the same as the first, except the very end, long E, arpeggio, F sharp. Climb the scale, arpeggio, stretch that third finger, and a long B, long A at the end of the second phrase. Let's try that whole thing again. The second phrase. Another time. We're going to put together the entire A part. As you know from the teaching of it, they're almost the same. 4 bars, almost the same. The only thing different is in the 4th bar of each phrase. The first time it's and the next time it's and that's it. There is a huge jump. After you finish that first phrase, you have to jump over all of the strings to get to that E note. If you're not playing a fiddle, it's a different kind of jump. It's still a big one. It's a big interval, no matter how you play it on what instrument. And on certain instruments where these octave jumps are challenging, you may be compressing this tune into 1 octave. But if you don't have to, if you do have the range on your instrument, please do. But be prepared for that enormous jump. Just think of where you started the phrase and go back there and start it again. All right, the whole thing, 8 bars, the A part, first half of Malcolm McDonald's Jig, Delvin House. All right. Before we speed things up, I think I'll add the second half. So the second half is in contrast to the first half, which is going through that whole range all the way down to the bottom. The second half sticks in the upper range. So I'm going to play it first with no tied notes. That's what's going on to make it sound syncopated. But without the ties, it's a fairly straightforward tune. So it's an E and then that arpeggio. So find those notes, open E string, just like the beginning of the tune in the notes. Second bar, we're going up to the F sharp and then climbing the scale. So we have 2 measures. All right, now I'd like you to try tying the first 2 notes together. So instead of playing, you're going to put both of those E notes together. And likewise, you're going to do with the F sharp. Not that, but like that. So both measures with the ties. Again. playing out the bow, and for the benefit of people watching this workshop, I'm giving just a little bit of re-emphasis, but that's not actually called for. See, I'm playing it more smoothly there. So it's just held, but you'll see me nodding to indicate the rhythm. It's also something that at player's discretion, you can give a little bit of re-emphasis if you feel like it. This is fiddle music, so you're allowed to put a little bit of your own twist on it in that way. All right, that is the first 2 bars of the second part of the tune. Let's move right on. The third bar is the same basic notes of, notice there's a little rhythm change. So instead of, so find those. Now, it also has a tie, and the tie is between the second and third notes. So it's, now that one, I actually have an opinion that you ought to give a little bit of an emphasis to it, because there's no point in doing the tie if you're not going to make a big deal out of the syncopation. So if you're just going to sneak it in and make it sound like, that's a little bit blah. So there's kind of a reason to give it a little bit more emphasis on the tied note. All right, so we're moving on to the fourth measure of the piece. Just to wrap up the phrase, we just had G sharp. Stretch for it. If you're playing a violin, that is a G sharp. It is not a G. It does not match your G string. It is sharp. Reach for it. So the fourth bar of the phrase, G sharp and B. Okay, so here is 4 bars of the B part put together. I'm going to do it first, no ties, just so that you see the rhythm, basic underlying rhythm of the notes, and then I will add the ties in. Same thing with no ties. Now I will add the ties. All right, we're almost there. How's that so far? Everybody got that phrase? The fourth and last final 4-bar phrase of the tune is one that starts out just the same way as the first phrase of the B part. So it's the same rhythm. Oh, I'm sorry. One twist. It's not a whole note, a dotted quarter note at the beginning of that phrase. It is, in fact, that rhythm. With the ties. It's very similar to before. Last bit. Scale work. We just ended up there, and here's our finish. So it's up the scale a little bit and right down. So here is the last phrase put together. So I would like to put together the entire B part of this tune. 2 4-bar phrases. They're similar, not quite exactly the same. First time, long, dotted, quarter note, tied to the next 8th note, by the way. So let me start that now. beginning of the tune? Does anybody remember how it started? E. E and an arpeggio. Here's the A part of the tune. Going to F sharp. Scale. Arpeggio down. B. Back up high. F sharp. Scale. Arpeggio. Long notes. Whole thing repeats. right, so that tune is, I'm typing this into the chat, Delvin House. And we are featuring music of Malcolm McDonald. He's from Perthshire, village of Inver, and the little town of Dunkeld. And I hope you enjoyed Delvin House. Oh, good. Somebody liked it. Excellent. I had a lot of fun going through all of his music and trying to identify which were tunes that are unique to Malcolm McDonald's collection as opposed to ones that you can find everywhere else. And I will say that I actually think that most of what's in his collections is his original compositions, because not that many of them are tunes that I've seen elsewhere. So this is mostly his own original compositions. Another thing that's quite interesting is his range of types of tunes. He has strathspeys and reels. That was very common for people to compose lots of strathspeys and reels because that was the most popular stuff. But he also has a really good number of jigs, and not all composers of those days had a talent for jigs. Some decidedly did not. So it's quite nice to see somebody who really has a handle on jigs as well. Another thing that is interesting about Malcolm McDonald's collection, he has quite a few tunes both in 4/4 and in triple meters of various sorts, intended to be played slowly. Now, his slow tunes in triple meters are mainly written in 6/8, so they superficially look like jigs, but he's put his own notation saying play this slowly or slow-ish, indicating that it's maybe more of an air or perhaps an early type of what was later known as waltzes, but at that time never written in 3/4 time. And some of the slow pieces are strathspey form, so they can be played either as a stately tempo strathspey, slow strathspey, or slowed down even more so and made into an air. So I am thinking which one to teach next. There's a good variety here, and I have a strathspey. I have two different slow airs, one of the jig type, one of the strathspey type, and I've got some good reels and other jigs as well. So if anybody wants to chime in, would you like a jig, a reel? I'll play you some of the options of what I might teach next. There's a strathspey. This one's very cool. Mr. Stewart of Dalguise. Oh, somebody likes that one. Good. Here's another one. This is one of his more famous tunes. Captain David Stewart of the 42nd Royal Highlanders, reel. You might not recognize the name, but the tune is probably a little more familiar. So if anybody's in favor of that reel, well, there is an option. And we could do a slow tune. We could do another jig. I've got options. So chime in right now while I'm babbling away and say what you would like, because so far I had yes on the strathspey and nobody else has spoken up. So if you want something other than that strathspey, you better vote right now. Okay. So what else can I say about Malcolm McDonald? Late 18th century was really a high point of Scottish fiddling. There were tons of musicians. Scottish fiddling was experiencing a bit of a fashion vogue. People like Robert Burns, whose birthday is coming right up, Scotland's poet. He was in his heyday then, and he was composing poems to these kinds of fiddle tunes. Not so much to the really busy reels, but he was composing words to be sung to just about anything that you could sing slowly enough to actually say the words. All right, I now have 3 votes for the Strathspey. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do Mr. Stewart of Dalguise. This is a tune in D minor with no actual flat notes in it. I kind of like that. You know, it's like you get the flat key without having actually to go out of your way. So there is a B flat in the key signature, but there's no point in this tune where you actually have to play B flat. Just no B notes of any kind. So since they're absent, you wouldn't even know they're flat. You do have to play an F natural. So if an F comes up, it is an F natural, not an F sharp. So let's just review our D minor scale. F natural. B flat, we don't have to play it in this tune, but you might as well know it. And that's our full scale, but we're going to need a few more notes for this tune. F natural, make sure it's low. That's our full range for this tune. So I promise for those of you who wanted a tune other than this Strathspey, I will get to some others. So hang tight. And right now with the Strathspey, Mr. Stewart, our pickup note is a C natural. So find that note. Okay. Now, many of you have the opportunity to download the sheet music before the workshop. You know that I am teaching by ear right now, and you don't actually need this sheet music at the moment. And I'm saying this particularly for the Straths because I almost always revise the dots and snaps in the Strathspey rhythms according to how the melody goes. In other words, the snap pattern is not dictated by what is printed on somebody's version in a page, even the composer. The composer may have had in mind a different context for the Strathspey. He's playing it for dancing, not playing it for dancing, playing it quickly, playing it slowly, playing it with more of a Highland style, playing it with more of a drawing room style or a lowland style or a northeast style. All of these things make a difference in what snaps are done. Also, in the 18th century, the whole notion of Strathspeys as a written thing was still being invented. Strathspeys were played, but they were a thing that you did to reels to make them Strathspeys. So instead of printing in books all the dots and snap rhythms that you would need, it was enough to say, this is a Strathspey. In fact, the term that Malcolm McDonald used was Strathspey reels. What he means is that it's a reel form tune that you are to Strathspeyify. In other words, put in da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-dum type of rhythms into the reel and turn it into a Strathspey yourself. So many of the notes in this printed version of Mr. Stewart of Dalguise are just written straight, or with just a few dots to say, oh, hey, folks, remember this is a Strathspey, not a reel. You don't play it straight. And so with my experience playing Strats bass and knowing the genre and knowing the style, I'm qualified to put in my own snaps. So I'm going to teach it with snaps that are not written on the page. So pay attention by ear. And if you want to jot down notes on the sheet music about how I am snapping it, yeah, feel free to do that. But you're not reading the music. Learning by ear. So we had our pickup note, which was what? C. All right. Okay, so we have that C pickup note, and our first thing to do is do a snap rhythm from A to D. So locate that. So I'm going to add the next half of the bar. This is still the first bar of music. Just like that. All right, second bar of music, from the G note to the C note. So it's the same feature, move down one note of the scale. Find those notes. Rest of that second measure. That's an E and a low C. All notes in the C are arpeggio. So the second measure. So here's the beginning of the tune all put together. 2 measures plus the pickup note. And again. How are we doing? So far, so good? All right, I'm going to continue on. It starts the same way. And then it goes up. Jumps to a high A, G. Let's do that jumpy part. So with the beginning of that third measure, okay. One more measure to go to complete the part. And it's a classic tying up the phrase type of Strats bass ending. So let me break that down. First part, E and C. Then a scale run from high A. Those those are 16th notes. So let me show you my favorite way of articulating that. I slur the first two together, and then I separate the second two. Two slur, two separate. What that bowing or that articulation does is it lets me lean on certain notes more than others. So it tends to front load the beginning of that run with a longer, more emphasized note, and that gives it a shape. So instead of being a blur, slur, that has no shape. I can tell that phrase where to go and direct it with that kind of articulation. So our fourth bar of the phrase, concluding the first half of the tune, and the last snap, F, that's an F natural, and snap it down to a D. That you've got most of that. This being the second by ear tune of our workshop, I'm moving it along a little faster. Don't panic. If you don't have all the notes, catch ones at certain points. Just kind of lay in wait for certain parts to come along and say, I know what comes there, and be ready for it. And then build it up from there. So the first phrase of the tune, the entire A part, is 4 bars long. It repeats for an 8-bar phrase in total, but it's a direct repeat of 4 bars. The pickup note was what? C. All right. How's that going? How's that A part? Pretty much put together? I hope so. If it's not, ask questions. In the meantime, though, I think I will introduce the second half. The second half of this tune has 2 pickup notes. So it's A and G, because the phrase proper begins on an F. McDonald wrote many tunes that rely on arpeggio patterns. And sometimes these arpeggio patterns are really straightforward and very obvious. Like got down the arpeggio, up the arpeggio, very nice. Okay, that's great. Sometimes they jump around a bit more. This one is a little bit more of a twister. So it's arpeggio notes, but they're not necessarily in the order you think. The good news is that once you learn this pattern, it's repeated 3 times in the B part. So we just had pickup notes, and those are our arpeggio notes in this key. D, F natural, high A, and likewise low A. And in this piece, it's... So just find that. I'm adding a Strasberry rhythm to it. Excellent. Now our next half of this phrase, this little D minor arpeggio snippet, after we do that last note, it's really the pickup note to the next measure. So it's not part of the D minor arpeggio, but it's the only note, the very last note. So everything else is an F, D, or A. All right, next measure. Here, we're going with C. C is our pedal tone, so we keep rocking back to the C, like this. Like that. I park that C note. Keep it there, keep it handy, keep that finger handy. So I'm forming a really nice arch there where my E string is free to ring. So I have that C note down and the E is playing free. Now my second finger's on both strings at once. Okay, so... And we're not quite done with the second bar. Here's the trick at the end. It's just a scale up and back to the starting point. Are you sleeping? Well, not quite, right? And again, I'm using slur to separate two. So putting that second bar together, rocking back to the C. All right. Next, third bar, just like the first bar. Except the pickup note, which is F this time to let you know that you're going into an ending. is the same as the ending of the first part. All right, so I would like to put together the 4 bars of the B part. Here's what we have so far. Listen to this. So we've got pickup notes, arpeggio, C pedal, the arpeggio again, and ending. Let's play it again. Okay, we're in good shape so far. The last phrase, last 4 bars, starts exactly the same as what we've just had, including the pickup notes. And here's where we depart, because we have a 2-bar wind up to the final ending. That is the final ending. So let me give you that bit by bit. We just had the thing with the returning to the C note. So here's where we are. Last 2 bars. So here's the second to last bar. It's arpeggio notes. Oh, did I say there was no B flat in this tune? This one B flat. This one. So it's almost a scaled, no E note. And then that's really an F arpeggio with a note snuck in there. So it's kind of like an must-do ornament note. So here is the second to last bar. And the ending. This is very, very similar to the ending of all the other parts. Except it's low. So it's a low E, C note, and this time instead of up here, it's an octave lower. here is the ending. Last 2 bars put together. The last 4 bars of this tune, all put together with pickup notes. All right. Now I'm going to do the entire 8-bar phrase. And remember, the first 4-bar phrase is the same for the first 2 bars. Then it repeats with a high ending. And otherwise, it's the same material recycled. So, the B part. And again. All right, I'd like to give everybody a chance to play that some more, but I'm going to put it in the context of the entire tune. So, do you remember how the A part went? What was the pickup note of this tune? Did you guess C? Yes. Okay, very good. That note, yep. And it's the snaps. And then C. Goes up high, ending. And again. C part. shoulder rest is falling off here, so I need to do a little adjustment. Maybe it'll be less slippery without a sweater. Let's try that. Get tangled in my own sweater. All right, let's try this now. Oh, that's much better. All right, a few more times through Mr. Stewart of Dalguise. Mr. Stewart of Dalguise by Malcolm McDonald. And I have to spend a moment here plugging in my computer because I realize I'm running on battery and it won't last through this whole workshop. Oh, there we go. Now we're charging. All right. How many people are up for another tune by ear? And you need to understand that this one will be taught more quickly no matter which tune we pick. I will not spend an equal amount of time as I spent on the first two. So just let me know quickly if you're up for another tune by ear or if you'd like to move to tunes from sheet music. Your choice. If we do tune by ear, it probably, oh yeah, we have some yeses and sures. And I know that Marilyn wants to do Captain David Stewart. So, oh yeah, all right. So let's go ahead and do it. Captain David Stewart, 42nd, Royal Highlanders, Reel. Okay, this tune is fairly well known. This is probably one of Malcolm McDonald's biggest hits. However, it's mostly known under the title of General Stewart. And, you know, if you look into the history, the person that it's named for, you know, he was a captain when Malcolm wrote it. And then later in his life, he was a general. So the same person. You know, this is always a question. If the tune's named after a military person and they get a promotion, does the tune get a promotion? Or is the tune to retain its original title? It happens also with tunes named for unmarried ladies who change their names when they marry. Does the tune get married? Yeah. So does it get known under more than one name? Or do you just keep with the original name? In this case, it's pretty definitive to me that Malcolm McDonald wrote this tune. The tune version that's in circulation, this is a very popular tune in Cape Breton. It came to Cape Breton through the Athol collection, which was published in the late 19th century. This predates the Athol collection by a good 85 years. And it has more detail. Not just says that he's Captain David Stewart, not just no first name. It also says what particular regiment he's in. You know, 42nd Royal Highlanders. I did look that up and I've already forgotten, but it was a particular, I think it was a particular battalion of the Scots Guards or something like that. or a particular regiment of the Scots Guards. I'm a little fuzzy on what military unit it was, but it was part of, did I say Scots Guards? Black Watch. It was part of the Black Watch. So let me get to the tune. I'll play it for you. All right. So here are the details. Malcolm McDonald tended to write his reels and strathspeys in the following form: a 4-bar A part that gets repeated, and a B part that's a full 8 bars, usually with repeated elements and a second ending to make it a full 8 bars. And this one follows that form. It's very, very much the classic form for Malcolm McDonald's compositions. Pickup note is an E. This entire tune is in a mode of D mixolydian mode, and it is this D scale in which every C is natural. So it's like a pipe scale, but this is in key of D, not the key of A. So pickup note of E, and then we have a D octave jump. And we're working with D arpeggio notes. Let's find those. Octave, arpeggio, and back to A. All right, next measure. Second measure. That's an E to the C. Now we're working with C arpeggio notes. So write down the C arpeggio. Once we get to the high C, and back up the arpeggio. So moving along, the third bar also has that D octave jump. But instead of going back to arpeggio land, we're going to jump it up to the ending. Up the scale, jump, that's a G. So this third measure, octave, octave, and the ending. So it has that burl in there. If at any time you find your burls are not going today, you can substitute a quarter note at any time for a burl. A burl is just a way of decorating a long note. It's a bowing decoration, a bowed ornament rather than a fingered one. So and that's the last measure. I'm going to slow it down a little bit as I put the entire thing together, and then we'll go through it a few times with a little bit of bumping up of the rhythm. Octave, arpeggios, C notes, arpeggio, octave jump, scale, jump, before we get too carried away, I would like to teach you the second part. The second part has some interesting elements to it. Repeated arpeggio licks are a feature of this part. So the B part starts out with a G pickup note, high G. So find that spot, and now find right down the scale. All right, so that is the beginning of that first measure, scale. Now we're going to do arpeggio notes. 3 arpeggio notes. A, F sharp, D. And then we're going to do a little more of that, as if we're going to do more arpeggio. We've reached 8 notes, which is the total 8 notes in one measure. So that's the beginning of the B part. it has a similar pattern in the next measure, only now we're working with the C arpeggio. And in this case, it's arpeggio all the way. So it's group of 3, same group of 3, first 2, and that adds up to 8. And I know I'm a little washed out by the sun here. I actually just have to wait for the sun to go away. I don't have any blinds on that window. So enjoy the effect of the streaking sun. Third measure is the same as the first. Sorry, F sharp. And here's the close of the phrase. Find those notes. So here are 4 bars of the B part. Oh, with the pickup. And again. Half of the B part starts exactly the same way. And here's where it is different. It wraps it up. 2 bars to do the grand finale ending. It's a stair-steppy scale. So I keep going up the scale by jumping up, down 1, jump up, down 1, jump up. And so it makes its way up like that. Starting on the note D. And it comes down kind of the same way by jumps. And then a burl. So let's do that again. Up by stair steps. And down. So here is the B part. And by the way, some of you may have noticed I'm kind of doing a pattern where I'm grouping them in 8th note groups of 3/8 notes, 3/8 notes, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2. That is on purpose. This rhythm is something that I try to introduce in when I'm teaching lessons to people on how to make Scottish music really drive. You do not play real neener, 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 neener. That is not rhythmically sound for a Scottish dance tune like a reel. I'm trying to get people to put emphasis on different groups of notes. This tune has it absolutely built in to the melody. And you can tell that this is a native rhythm to this tune because it's grouped. You just go where are the high notes? That's telling you where to put the emphasis. And from the beginning, how did it start? E pickup note and an octave jump. You're right. And that is Captain David Stewart, 42nd Royal Highlanders, Reel by Malcolm McDonald, also known under the name General Stewart. And let me just give you a little bit of information, which is that we have also had the Cape Breton version of this very tune in Fiddle Club. It was a while back. And of course, the page on which I wrote that note here it is it was in book 12, page 6. There are a number of Cape Breton tunes in that section of book 12. This is the only one that's a Malcolm McDonald tune, and it's under the name General Stewart in book 12. Meanwhile, I just want to tell you there are a few other Malcolm McDonald tunes in Fiddle Club from before. One of them is Miss Drummond of Perth's Scotch Measure, book 19, page 14. So not that long ago, I decided not to repeat that one because we'd done it within recent memory. I did repeat one Malcolm McDonald tune, Captain Charles Stewart's Jig, because we hadn't done that since book 4, and it's one of his better known tunes. So let's go to sheet music, and I'm just going to take a quick moment. I got a call that came in while I was teaching this, so I'm going to do a quick text, tune your instruments, get a drink of water, and let me just answer this particular query. All right, let's continue with a Malcolm McDonald music from sheet music. It is available at the members area of the Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle Club. It's also currently available online for anybody who is attending this workshop. The sheet music is 4 pages of our current book of fiddle tunes, which is book 28. We've been doing monthly workshops like this now for 28 years, and that's one heck of a lot of tunes. And one of the things that I've been working on during home time here in the pandemic is making all of the Fiddle Club books available in an electronic version that can be downloaded. So eventually we'll have all of them up at the Fiddle Club website. I've been steadily working my way through. I just completed doing book 19 earlier this week. So someday I'll get them all done and we'll get them all up. In the meantime, I believe some of them are available for download, and all of them are available to be mailed in printed form if that's your preference. I also want to point out a few things that are available at the Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle Club website, which is potomacvalleyscottishfiddle.org. And I'm going to type that into the chat. If you're not currently a member, you probably want to be, because these workshops are one of the benefits of membership. The sheet music is also a benefit of membership, and it's I would say an essential way that we are able to keep doing this is through the support of the members. While you're at the Fiddle Club website and looking at the members membership area, you will be at the Webstore, and if you scroll down, you can find books and CDs of Scottish music. And I'm going to do a little plug right now for my new CDs. This year I put out 2 new CDs. This one, Sugar Beat, wait till you hear this one, with my band with Susan Brandt and Mark Glickman. And this one is a seasonal selection of tunes with Ken Kolodner. There's Ken. And I worked really hard on putting these together and putting them out in difficult circumstances. They both got recorded before things shut down, and then had to do a lot of remote work. and a lot of very efficient work in the studio in difficult circumstances. Since I basically don't have any gigs these days other than these video things, I've sold about 6 of these and maybe 12 of these. So hopefully one of these days I'll be able to actually make my money back that I invested in these. Let's go to the sheet music. On page 15, here's the sheet music. Page 15 of book 28, Newbeth House. I'm not sure if this is pronounced Newbyth or Newbeth. I'm going to say Newbyth, and if I'm wrong, somebody will correct me. Newbyth House. Malcolm McDonald clearly had a close relationship with the family that lived at this house, the Bairds. He's got a tune for Mrs. Baird, Mr. Baird, Miss Baird, and many other Bairds, and multiple tunes for each of them. So I think that they were great supporters of his music. So this one is in the key of G, key of D, with a somewhat modal feel, although it's not truly a modal tune. And the pickup note is G. Let's play it slowly. that is Neil House. On the same page, we have a tune called Mrs. Tullos Jig. Now, I thought that maybe this was just a misspelling of Tulloch with a Tulloch, and then I actually looked it up and discovered that there are people who are actually named Tulloh in Scotland. So, not necessarily a misspelling. So I'm going to go with Mrs. Tulloh. I don't know anything about her. However, I can tell you her tune is in A mixolydian and is perfectly suitable for pipes. Here's the tune. Try it, starting slower. I'm going to say a little word about that figure since this comes up a number of times in this tune. The way Malcolm McDonald writes the bowings for this in his original publication makes it pretty clear that he intends this to be obligatory ornamentation on the E note. So the essential notes are, except the second time, you must do those ornaments. There we go. So now I'll carry on with the tune slowly. that's Mrs. Tullos Jig. All right, on page 16, we have one of those slow airs that I talked about. This is a tune that he has written as if it's a strathspey, but he has it specifically marked as slow. It is not quite an ordinary strathspey because it has a dramatic high point and a tag ending that extends the phrase. So unlike strathspeys, which are in 4-bar phrases, typically with some very rare strathspeys that are in 6-bar phrases, this one's just got an extra bar tacked on to give it a 9-bar phrase in the B part. So here it is. It's Callum's Frolic, and it's spelled in that 18th century way. I'll hold it up to the camera so you can see. Frollock for a frolic. So that's a frolic of Callum. Who is Callum? Well, Callum is Gaelic for Malcolm. I've known several people named Malcolm who went by their Gaelic version of Callum. And so this might be something that he wrote for his own amusement. And by the way, Malcolm McDonald wrote a phenomenal series of tunes in G minor. It's clearly one of his best keys. He certainly favored certain keys above others. He has a lot of tunes in D, a lot in E minor, a lot in C, and a lot in G minor. And the G minor ones are frequently really good. So this is my very favorite G minor tune. Let's play it through. Oh, I just love that tune. I hope you liked it too. All right, next tune on the page is one of Malcolm McDonald's biggest hits, and I will say it's one of his biggest hits 200 years after the fact. And the reason why is that this tune was selected by Muriel Johnston to be the title tune for what has turned out to be a super popular Scottish country dance. The dance is Mrs. Stewart's Jig. She paired this Malcolm McDonald tune with the dance. It's a great fit. The dance is really fun, and it's very, very popular. So this tune, which was probably known and played and liked in his own time, is now much more played and much better recognized than it probably was even in his own day. This is the only tune in this selection that we've had before. It is in book 4. Book 4. Book 4, page 7. So it's been a very, very long time since we've had it in Fiddle Club, and I thought it was worth another look. For this tune are closer to what were published by Muriel Johnston for the modern Scottish country dance, rather than specifically following the bass lines in Malcolm McDonald's own book. Those bass lines are pretty rudimentary, and given that he's said to have been a cello player for Neil Gow, it's kind of surprising because you'd think they'd be a little more, cello-y or interesting. But they're very, very basic, and that leads me to think that either cello was not his prime instrument, although he could play it, or that he just kind of put the emphasis on the melodies in this collection and did not put a lot of time on what bass lines were published with them. So let's play Captain Charles Stewart's Jig in slow-ish. Captain Charles Stewart's Jig. On page 17, we have two of the tunes we did by ear, Mr. Stewart of Delguise and Captain David Stewart, 42nd Royal Highlanders, Reel. So we're going to move right along to the third tune on the page, Miss Bissett Legueret's Reel. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly. One thing that I do know, though, is that both those names are her last names. I don't know what her first name was, because there's another tune in the book written for Miss Anne Bissett Legueret, and so she would have been the elder sister of this Anne, because that was the custom. The oldest daughter did not got just the title of Miss so and so without a first name, and all the younger daughters would have Miss Anne, Miss Betsy, Miss Mary, whatever. And so the fact that she has no first name listed, and her sister Anne does, means that she was the oldest daughter of this family. All right, here it is. Let's play it slowly and work it up to speed in a few bits. I just love the way that that one has this rhythmic drive to it. It really, the melody kind of drives you to emphasize certain notes, and so the rhythm is the big deal in that tune. Next one is on page 18, Miss Graham's Delight. This is one of those slow pieces in 6/8. So it makes it a little trickier to read, but this was the custom in the late 18th century. It was to write slow pieces that essentially move in 3, in 6/8, and not in 3/4 time, typically. They look like jigs, and they have too many notes to play as a jig. So it can be deceptive, because you start out and you say, oh, perfectly good jig. And then you get to the part where it's, and you're like, this would not make a good jig. So Miss Graham's Delight, there are many tunes for the Grahams of, and again, I do not know how to pronounce these people's place. It's Orchill, Orchill. I don't know. Anyway, you decide. Somebody will figure it out. Somebody knows this place and can correct me on the pronunciation. But here's the tune. And it's going to sound a bit more like a waltz. This predates the fashion of waltzing, though. Waltzing did not really hit the UK until the 1800s, and this is before then. too. It's my delight, as well as Mrs. Graham's or Miss Graham's. All right, the last tune that we have not yet heard, Mr. Baird of Newby's Jig. And we know from this and some of these others, Charles Stewart's Jig is one of them, that Malcolm McDonald was kind of fond of spelling jig with two G's, Jigg. Well, spelling was kind of fluid back in the 18th century, just like you have Callum's frolic. So, Mr. Baird of Newby's Jig, this is an unusual jig. It plays with modes of E. So we have it in E minor to start with, and then the second part is in E mixolydian, so it tends to sound major, and only tune like it in the book that does this key shift thing. Have a listen. So forth. So let's try it slowly first. There's just enough time to go through our ear tunes once more, and just to let you know a couple of things. This YouTube streaming live stream workshop is our regular form of workshop until we are able to meet in person, and so I hope to see you next month on the second Sunday, which is February 14th at 2:30 for the February workshop. In the meantime, tonight, after a break during which you can have refreshments, eat your dinner, or whatever you would like to do, we'll reconvene at 6:30 for a jam. You can do the jam two different ways. You can either go to the Fiddle Club website and click on the jam link that's there for a YouTube link to the jam, or you can participate via Zoom. If you are a Fiddle Club member, you should have received the Zoom link in your email. The Zoom link is not posted on the website. So if you're going via the website, you can connect by YouTube. If you want to suggest tunes that you'd like to have played at the jam, you can do that in two different ways, either in the Zoom via the live chat or live talking, or you can send an email to info@pvsfc.org and suggest a tune that you would like to have played at the jam tonight, and we'll work it in. So I will be joining you there for the jam. And in the meantime, let's play our ear tunes once through. Our first one was Delvin House. Do you remember that one? Oh, yeah, they never sound familiar after all this workshopping, but it was a jig in the key of A, and it had the big range. It started up high, and then it went down low. So here it is. Strats Bay by ear, Mr. Stewart of Dow Guys and Captain David Stewart's reel. So I'll do them back to back. And those are our tunes by Malcolm McDonald. I hope that you've enjoyed learning a bit about Malcolm McDonald's music, late 18th century Scottish fiddle composer from Perthshire, from the neighborhood of Neil Gow, and a contemporary of Neil Gow, and with his own distinctive voice in composition and some really interesting and fun music to play. So I hope you've enjoyed this workshop on Malcolm McDonald. See you next time. Take care.